she would always start her session with a slide preview of things that she's looking at, and her, certainly not the only one that says this, but I love that she always reinforced it, that like your job as an artist is to always, part of it is looking at other people's art.
Amber Waterhouse, excited to have you in. Record the podcast now, kind of make the trifecta. We had the video shoot at the antique store, Waterhouse in Hingham, and then you were so gracious to let me and Jackson come by, shoot a video at your house. Appreciate
Thanks for having me
in.
again. I guess I did all right the first couple of times.
Yeah.
It was asked back, right?
I've always enjoy conversations with you when we talking about art, and you certainly have a fair amount of art hanging at your house, and you're producing art yourself still, or not as much?
I am still producing art, not at the pace that I would like.
Yeah.
My life right now is just not permitting as much, but I definitely am still painting. I just came back from a great week in Maine in mid-June where we painted every day, which was like, that's my favorite thing ever.
Is that the same group? The
same group? This is our 9th year that we've gone. Yeah, it was just 3 of us, and we paint kind of as much as we can, but we do other stuff too. We look at a lot of art too, which is great. And that particular, Maine in general, but that particular area of Maine has just so much to offer, just so much to look at, mid-coast. So we stay in Camden, and there are great galleries in Camden, great galleries in Rockland, right next door. There's the Farnsworth Museum. There's Maine, I can never get the initials right. There's a Contemporary Museum. It's endless. It's endless. There's so many artists up there that live and work up there. So we went to a studio, an artist studio this time. We always do, every week we go. It's just like a little bit different. But we called on. We met him before, Ken DeWard, and he lives in Hope, Maine, not that far. He's a representational, traditional style, but makes really beautiful artwork, and is a full-time artist who sent 4 kids to college. I'm always so impressed with that. In addition to his work, I'm just impressed by his financial prowess in the world of making art. So, and he's a super nice guy, beautiful work, and he's got a bunch of shows coming up this summer, and in Maine and elsewhere, and a workshop at the end of the summer. So it's.
So you guys just called him up and asked if he could come by and visit?
And at first he was like, okay, I think, I always buy a piece of art when I'm up there.
Yep.
Sometimes 2. It's hard not to, because it's just, there's just so many really, really talented, interesting stuff going on there. So, so usually, I guess when you ask to go to someone's studio, there is somewhat of an implied expectation or not expectation, but like, a little bit, a little potential is there. Because otherwise you're just sort of, I guess, being nosy. But one of the things that was, in addition to his really beautiful work, is his prolificness. Oh my gosh, the amount of work he had in his studio, it was unbelievable, and so envious. So.
Well, that's cool. So
good little kick in the butt kind of visual. I bought a painting of Ken DeWard painting, and then one other artist that shows at Dowling Walsh that they're under construction right now, so I couldn't actually look at it, and it was at a show, but I've been wanting it for years, so I bought it anyway.
So the particular piece, or a piece by a particular artist? By a particular
artist.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's. I don't go anywhere else in Maine. I only have that. That not only. I'm grateful to have that one week. But you can see a lot in that area. So she's contemporary. I don't know. It's kind of like what I've been thinking about and painting. I love interiors right now. I just kind of like, I mean, I've always liked Edward Hopper. A lot of people do. And I like that sort of, it's almost like there's a human presence, but without the human kind of thing, and the arrangement of objects and in a room and kind of the narrative of an interior and, you know, all of those things I've been kind of interested in the last like ever since COVID. Well, I always liked interiors, but I just started, I guess, painting them more during COVID, like a lot of people did. But
yeah, I mean, it's cool. I have the video I was showing you earlier of the stuff I hung at my house. I was had been fixated on these structures and just like buildings, like architectural pieces.
Yes.
And I just hung like a huge grouping. I'm thinking probably like 15-ish or maybe 20 pieces. You know.
Yeah. So within your own like collecting and purchasing, you've started to notice a theme.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I tend to buy what I like, but I feel like I'm always drawn to buildings for a while. I do like interior shots too.
Yeah, I love architecture too. I love painting it, and I love paintings of it. You know, yeah.
I think it's good to have it's interesting. You know, I noticed that I was like drawn to those type of pieces, and then you know, all of a sudden you have, you know, when you're collecting stuff, you have like 20 or 30 of them, and I'm like, I'm just gonna do like a cool install at my house with these, and I did a stairwell, you know, like gallery wall, and kind of wrapping around a corner. And I think it came out pretty cool.
Yeah, I love the picture of it. Now, will you share something like? Would you share a picture like, you know, on social media?
I think
or whatever?
I threw it on my like Instagram story yesterday just because I was proud of it.
Yes.
But I have my daughter like taking like. I had her take pictures of the empty
sequence
wall.
of the building up of it.
Yeah. So I'll post something, and I'll probably try to tag a bunch of the artists. There was a couple deceased artists that are. I had Roz Farbush. I have one of her pieces, which when I just recently got it, and I wanted that to be like the
focal point.
To me, because she's definitely like one of my favorite artists.
Yeah.
And then, you know, a couple of Brooks Kelly's that are same thing.
I love his work. I've had a few Ross Farbushes. I actually sold one on Saturday.
Really? Did you really?
Yeah. It's so great when most people hang on to them, but when I can kind of find one, whether I'm at like an estate sale or someone's house or whatever. Actually, the Ross Farbush I sold on Saturday, I found like in Buzzards Bay. I can't remember which. I think I bought it at an antique shop.
Yeah.
So it was out of place. So people didn't necessarily know, you know.
Yep.
I mean, they should just recognize it as good art. But same with Brooks Kelly. I got a great one on the Cape one time. Mm-hmm. And then I do have a customer that collects it, so I'm always kind of looking out for it, sort of thing. Yeah,
that's your, you know, your main business is the, you know, I don't want to say you're more of an antique dealer than you are a painter, but you kind of tie the two together nicely.
I was looking for, my first career was in corporate retail and fashion retail, and then so I have a retail background, and then I had kids and started painting again, and then, you know, they were whatever, I'd been painting for like 10, 12 years, and I was starting to sell my work more out of necessity than anything else, just so I could pay for my supplies and my classes. And then I was looking to, like, my kids were getting older, and I was looking for, you know, what I was going to do next. And I really wanted to try to find something, you know, some type of career that I could stay in the arts with. So I was thinking of teaching. So I was kind of starting to prepare myself, like taking a bunch of courses, because I don't have a BFA. Mm-hmm. I have a BA. I studied art history I took a lot of studio classes, but I just didn't end up going to a school that in the end it is now, but it wasn't at the time really strong in the visual arts. So, and I went to transfer, but then I really liked where I was, so I stayed. Anyway, so I, just by sheer, like, just kind of not an accident, but it was Christmas time, and a friend of mine was at my house, and she said, oh, you know, the woman that owns Pear Tree Hill Decor in the square, which I had just found, she had, it was a little shop, it was in the same location where I am.
Yeah.
she sold antiques, and she carried one local artist, Leslie Behringer, I think was her name. She was from Hull. She moved to Florida at least 10 years ago. Anyway, and then she had some vintage pieces in there too. And I loved her shop. I thought it was really cool. And so my friend was like, "Oh, hey, Mary's going to sell her shop." And I was, you should buy it. And I was like, oh, that's not what I was thinking of doing. But then I just couldn't get it out of my mind. And so then I ended up talking with her, and I ended up like buying her inventory. So I was looking for a venue to sell my art because I was already selling it, and I had some, fair enough traction on it. And it allowed me to be local while my kids were younger, and I could just, it wasn't like curing cancer. So if there was an emergency, I could just shut the door and run to the middle school or the high school or whatever. So I just am not prolific enough. So I asked my friends who I paint with to show their work there. And then I liked having the antiques because I never want to call it a gallery because I don't know, I didn't want people to feel intimidated when they came in. And then I didn't, with the antiques, I opened in 2014, so antiques were at an all-time low, as they do. Everything cycles, but it was considered kind of granny looking at the time. This was, thank God the white, gray, and chrome is a thing of the past. It never was present for some of us, but anyway, it looked kind of granny. So then I put home decor in there. So it's kind of a jumble, but people seem to really like it. It's kind of so you end up sort of discovering something there, on your own sort of thing, versus it's just paintings or it's just furniture or it's just decor. So
I think you do a great job with it. I mean, it's definitely not intimidating, and I don't know the antique business that much except for going into your store, and now since I've been in your store, I'm not afraid to walk into I feel comfortable walking into other antique stores. I'm more comfortable walking into a gallery, I guess. But I don't know if in that business a lot of people just come in and go out because they're just browsing.
Yes,
but I feel like it makes it very easy to just walk in and poke around.
I hope so.
It feels almost expected, right?
Yeah, I think having a lot to look at. I guess what I always sort of found intimidating about going into a gallery is that you are sort of expected to buy something. It's just like your body standing there with these, two-dimensional things on the wall. There's nothing in between you, and you have the gallery owners or a person working there, and they're either just letting you look or they're talking to you or a mix of both. And I love going into galleries, but I don't know. I always, especially when I started buying art, found it a little bit intimidating. So I didn't want that to be. I mean, I think that's what works in my shop and particularly with. We're all kind of the same price point, but I think that price point is kind of a sweet spot between like $300 and $1,200. I think it's available for most people. And this community, has on the South Shore appreciates art and appreciates having real art in their home. I'm sure you could speak to that all day long.
I think so. I think that I think a lot of people do, but I think there's a lot of more people out there. So trying to educate people and make them less intimidated to walk into a gallery, I think, is important. And finding more spaces like yours and letting people know, like, oh, you can go and see some paintings.
Yeah, without just a look. And see what you connect with or don't or whatever.
Yeah, I was thinking about it this morning, about trying to get people more comfortable with buying art. And, it's almost like you have to fall in love with that process, right? Like anything else, like a job or a craft that you get really good at, you just need to enjoy the journey as much, like learning about art.
100%. Yes. That is like so much of it and such the fun part.
Yeah, like exploring and just discovering who these artists are. I was like looking at my wall this morning because I'm like, excited about it. And I'm just looking at each one and thinking of where I purchased each one, and who the artist is, and that's part of the fun of it for me.
100%. Yes, I couldn't agree more. It's so much a part of the process is now with the internet it's so much more available.
Yeah.
Whether it's contemporary artists and going on Instagram and just looking at their work and looking where they paint, or looking who they paint with, and then going on that person's website and kind of going down that like rabbit hole of like seeing all these things that you wouldn't have found without having known that original artist or that original reference. And then you mentioned, this, for lack of a better term, this is what we call it too, dead people's art. I mean, it's so fun I love. It's not what I studied in college at all, but I love first half of the 20th century American art, particularly regional art. It's like my favorite, and I love doing the research on it. And there's just so much available on the internet that you can. It's so fun figuring out who studied with who and. Where they came from, whether it was the Midwest or it was Europe or they were local or, what have you, and what interested them and their story. And I look at a lot of auctions. I used to buy a lot of stuff at auctions, but now since the pandemic, everyone's buying at auctions. So it's really hard for resale, but I do buy for myself. And it's just, I enjoy, even if, maybe 20%, one out of 20 times, I actually win one. Yep. But of that 20 that I was like trying to win, I did all the research on all those artists, and just end up learning a lot. And that to your point is equally part. That's like one of the most fun parts of the process. Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. It makes it for interesting conversations, and it makes for when you see something, being able to reference it, be like, oh, well. You like so and so, you like, Hopper or Wyeth's work. Like, well, there's someone that's painting in that similar type of style that might be a more affordable.
Probably. Probably. And putting all those pieces together is kind of fun too, and seeing how the influences have on contemporary artists, people that you're admiring or what have you. Yeah, I mean, and it's available to everyone. That's what it's not just for that few people anymore. I mean, I feel like, and I think that's what you're doing such a great job with your business, is just being really open to everyone, showing them like visually or just coming into your frame store, how accessible it is, and what it brings to your, not just your home, but your life and your, if you have I always tell people, like, real artwork in your home, it has, because it was created by a human, has such a different vibe than, not that posters are fine, particularly when you're starting out, or there's some amazing collectible posters that are worth like lots of money, but I think having a painting that someone painted is and not a copy. It just creates it's like handmade furniture in a lot of ways.
It is, and it kind of really sets a room apart, right? If you're looking, I had the conversation with Peter Mello from Duxbury not too long ago in the art complex, and he brought to my attention something that I hadn't really thought about. And he's like, flip through an Architectural Digest magazine, and you see. What sets those rooms apart? Some of the furniture is very expensive too, but it's not like couches aren't one-offs, right?
Yeah, they're not.
And do you want a room? Do you want a room that looks just like like a Pottery Barn catalog?
Right.
But the couch is nice, but start with the art, because that you can get a painting that there's probably only one of. Maybe there's a couple that are similar, but there's not a.
It puts the humanness in the room, and then the owners of the home that have collected that have chosen that, and it represents something of their interests and their taste and it tells their story in a way too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it just makes for a more interesting. You look in a room and you're sitting down and there's something there and it has a story behind it, whether or not that story is like, oh, knowing the history of the artist or like where you bought it and why you bought it. I mean, those things are I think more interesting.
Yeah.
And I think I hammer that point all the time. It's like, all right, well, what's that piece all about when you're in somebody's home? Like, is it more interesting to say, well, that's a piece of Ross Farbush and I knew her when I was a kid and like I always thought her work was great, or is it, oh, I bought that because it matches my couch, or it's the same color as all this other stuff.
I've painted paintings to match fabric and paint chips. Not my typical approach, but I figure if someone wants something that I produce, it's an honor I'm honored to be asked. So. I mean, that's however people go about it. It's not my approach, but that sounds like certainly your approach, but that can be okay too.
Yeah, well, I mean, commissioning a piece. I mean, if you're commissioning a piece from an artist, I mean, you generally have some say in what the subject matter is, right? So why not, include, asking to work in colors if it's possible and the artist is on board with that.
Yeah. That's anyway.
So I was at your house and tons and tons of paintings. When did you actually start collecting?
Well, let's see.
What's the first one? Do you remember? Or no?
The first real painting I bought, I always had stuff on my walls, but usually it was, so my aunt is an artist, so I had like a few of her drawings and a screen print that she did, things like that, things that were free or very inexpensive. And then I lived in Marshfield Hills, and I got involved at North River Arts and started painting there, and went to one of their sales. I don't know if it was the November sale or the barn sale and bought a Sandy Dinellen pastel back when she was doing pastels. I think she's doing them again. I haven't.
Is she in Florida?
I don't know where Sandy is right now. I love her though, and I love her work, and she works in a lot of different mediums. But anyway, it was a pastel. It was absolutely beautiful, and I spent $100 on it, and I thought, oh my gosh, I have just made the biggest score of my life. Yeah. So that was it. That's all it took. Then the door was wide open. I mean, I still tell people about that November sale. I think it's just such a fun way to inexpensively acquire some really good art. And if you don't know where to start, you can't really go wrong there. You're not going to spend $1 million, and you're going to find something you like and just get it up, bring it to the frame center and have it framed, and then get it up on your wall. Yeah.
Do you still have the piece hanging? Or?
I do. It's in one of my daughter's rooms, but I have a smaller house now, and I have with less wall space, so it's pretty jammed in there, but it's not stopping me from carrying on. Yeah. And some I've cycled out. Some paintings I'm like, what was I thinking? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got to make mistakes and learn, right?
Yeah, and your taste evolves and maybe matures, and
I think that buying, it's like anything else, right? You're gonna make some hiccups along the way. You're not gonna, not every piece you buy is gonna be
not a home run every time at bat. No.
Yeah, but you go through that process, and like you said, going into just saying you like something and purchasing it, and from your standpoint too. I mean, you're an artist. I mean, how rewarding is that when somebody wants to buy one of your pieces?
Oh, it never gets old. I mean, it's that someone would fork over some of their own hard-earned money for something I made is never gets old. No.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing too. It's like when you're buying art, you're supporting this community. Yes. And you're enriching the community as well as your own life, right?
People will say, "Are you sad to sell that painting? The whatever." Or do you think that they wanted to keep this? The other artists, do you think they wanted to keep this painting? I'm like, if they did want to keep it, they would. I will keep if I produce something I really like, sometimes I will keep it for a little while. But then I like when it sells, it just means we can make more. So and that's like the whole goal is to just make more art. So selling is a big part of it. So I'm always grateful when someone purchases something of mine. And I'm equally as excited when someone connects with a piece that is in my shop, because it's so fun. That's one of the absolutely funnest parts of my job. Kind of witnessing that, when someone connects with it, a painting. Some people they're so funny. Some people are just like, "Yep, that's it. I want that right now. Just take it off the wall." And others will come back several times and look at it. And then I have a policy where you can take anything from the shop and put it in your home and try it out for just a week would be nice. Just because if you're going to bring it back forever, then it's not gone too long. But I think that really makes a difference for someone to be able to see it in their own light of their home and their own environment. And it's funny. Everyone does their own thing, but it is really, it's so fun when you connect with a piece of art and you're like, that has to come home with me. I want that. I want to keep that. I want to live with that. That's just such a fun part of the process too. That connection. Yeah.
And and that kind of evolves. I look at stuff and I'm like, oh, I really like that. That I really like that piece. Do you still have like a favorite at home, or you have some great stories behind some of those?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like a favorite child. Do I have a favorite child? I don't know. It's usually the newest one.
Yeah.
The one I just bought.
Purchase,
yeah. But yeah. And then I should move them around more.
Yeah.
I know people that love to move their art around in their house, and I think that although it would damage your walls a little bit, it's a good process to rearrange when you have new things. It sounds like you do that too.
Yeah, I do from time to time. I took all of this, the structure ones down, and then I had to fill in gaps around different parts of the house. So
hopefully it made some more room. It freed up some space. Now you can pile more in there.
I think so. I tend to buy a bunch of stuff and then I wanted to live in a certain place, so I have certain rooms that have pieces that I'd have to really find something else, to take them down. But starting kind of salon style walls, I think is my new thing. I was very inspired by Dan Reynolds going to his place.
Oh, I know. He's so good. He's awesome. So good. Yeah, and he's one that switches his stuff around constantly, all the time.
But he had a theme too with his works. A lot of it, like people, because he's and he said
he likes figurative.
And he's into. I think he attributed it to being a city kid when he grew up and just liking to be around people.
Yeah,
it's interesting. I think that people, you look at a bunch of work, and once you start buying a few, you kind of can figure out where your leans are, right?
Of course, yeah. When I moved into my house that I live in now 3 years ago, I eventually put the furniture where it was meant to be, and then started hanging up all the artwork. And I looked around, and I was like, "Wow, I guess I like landscape."
Yeah.
I had so many landscape paintings, which I still love. I mean, there's just a romanticism to it that I like painting landscape. I love looking at landscape art. But I definitely have mixed it with more of what I'm painting, what's sort of interesting me the last few years. And then on these trips to Maine, I just turned on to a lot of different artists that I don't see here. That sometimes I'll go home and think about it for a few years and look at their work and think about it for a while, and then maybe make a purchase or not. And then when I take classes or workshops, I love hearing what the instructors are, who they're looking at, who they're painting with, and that can expose me to different people that I wouldn't have known about, and it's a fun rabbit hole to go down. And
no, it is.
Just keep learning and looking, and Sue Charles, who lived on the South Shore for a long time, I would take her class on and off for years, and she would always start her session with a slide preview of things that she's looking at, and her, certainly not the only one that says this, but I love that she always reinforced it, that like your job as an artist is to always, part of it is looking at other people's art too, looking at, art from the past, what other contemporary artists are doing, and always, because it gives you a lot of information about your own work and what you're thinking of, and that's anyway.
No, yeah. So who are you looking at these days?
Well, let's see. I just got back.
You're not afraid to give it away, right?
No, it's not like a secret or anything, but I just bought a couple paintings at an auction, and I have them in my shop, and I'm planning to sell them, but they're hovering behind the desk right now because I can't quite let them go. I bought a painting of William Trost Richards, or Trost. I always call him William Trost Richards, but I was told the other day it's Trost. I don't know. He. Early or mid 19th century landscape artist, American landscape artist. His daughter, Anna Richards Brewster, was a very accomplished artist too, and I bought a painting of hers at this auction. So I am. It's a landscape, a winter landscape, and that's what I've just been down that. Researching all the people where she studied and what she, who she painted with, and the different places that she showed, and that sort of thing. So, and then in Maine, I have been looking at this artist who lives up there, Jenny Brillhart, and she paints these incredible, very contemporary, stylistically like sparse interiors with very deliberately placed objects. I think her work, her color, her design, is just so interesting. So I could afford a small one, so that's what I purchased. And this other guy too, who shows at the Page Gallery in Terry Powers. He's from the West Coast. Is he from Oakland, or I'm not sure, but. I forget Colin's connection to him, but he doesn't. He shows more out west. Yeah. But he's just an unbelievable painter.
Is that the artist that, like, the street scene that was at your?
No, I don't own one of his. I would like to very much. He's the one that I'm kind of like circling around, and once I come to grips with, like, am I going to ever retire one day, or should I spend this much on a painting? And just anyway, no. So. I just love his work to look at, to like be inspired by, and he paints very, just kind of almost like snapshots of his life, sort of thing. Just he's got young kids, he gardens, he has home repair projects on the weekends, so he paints his studio, he paints what's happening in his house. It's not what's happening; it's just, it's more about the paint than what the objects are.
Yep, the way he paints.
The way he paints is just, they're so good. I would love to own one of his. So those are the three people I've just, in the last week, I've been kind of 2 weeks, been thinking about. But
I think it's fun getting to like look at people. I see more people that are producing because they're coming in with things.
Yes.
But to look at people from the past, do you feel like that influences how you're working, or do you feel like your style is pretty?
Oh, for sure, because there's so much knowledge, that their work has left us, and so I used to go up to Gloucester to paint with. I could only go in the summer because the kids were younger, but with David Curtis, who unfortunately passed away in 2022. I would take at least one summer workshop, and he and his wife, Judy Curtis, who writes for American Art Review, are just incredible resources for Cape Ann painters and history. And I mean, he was on the board of the Rockport Art Association multiple times, probably North Shore too. I don't know. He and his father, Roger Curtis. Also an artist. His whole family are painters, and his father had a gallery and sold, all the greats like Emile Groupie and Strizik and Teamy and all those big Cape Ann names. And so David grew up with these people, and their enthusiasm. He and Judy, their enthusiasm, who's written many retrospectives on all those guys, especially if they're doing a show, she'll research and write a retrospective. And it's just that even though I don't see David anymore, just my enthusiasm for that area, that genre, if you will, of Cape Ann artists, which isn't necessarily a style, but it is just such a wealth of just talent. And it's growing up on the South Shore. I don't know what this whole South Shore, North Shore thing is, but I think it's just because it's, if you live one place, why would you go to the other sort of thing? And it's, when I ever got there, I was like, what was I doing? Like, there's so much up there to look at, and it's so fun to paint up there. Their harbors are so different than ours, and the boats are so different. I love painting boats and water, and so it's just endless what you could, come across there for subject matter, and to look at art too. There's incredible galleries, and that's a good little day trip or whatever.
I mean, there's art all around. I mean, everywhere you go, every city you go into, there's always,
hopefully.
For the most part.
Some more than others.
You can usually find something, a museum or, an art association to see, what's going on in that area.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I like the... I think I'm going to have you write me a short list of some of these places to check out, some of these artists to see.
Yeah, and I would like one from you, too. I mean, you guys see so much. I can't even, imagine what you guys see that comes in here, old stuff that needs to be reframed, to, people that are just starting out painting, to really accomplished people. And
it's all
almost like an auction house. You see stuff that has been in private collection, forever.
It's nice. I mean, it's it helps me, for collecting art. I mean, it helps you see a lot of stuff. And I think that's the first step, right? Deciding what you like. And then it's, and once you've been able to see something, you're like, I like that or I don't. Then you can start. People are always
that come into the shop are always looking for rules or structure or something, like, how do I get started, or what are the rules with framing? Like, do all the frames have to match? And which I always say immediately, no.
No, I
mean, do you have any?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think you can make things match if you want, but that giant grouping I have a lot of floater frames, and I have a couple pieces of Sergio, and they're big gaudy frames because that fits his style. And it all I feel like that all works together because it's a similar subject matter. But the styles are so different. I mean, Roz's stuff is so loose, and I have and right next to it's a piece by Sergio is super tight. And but the subject matter kind of flows it, together.
And that contrast, that kind of builds a tension that creates interest too. It makes you stand there longer and look at all that. If things are kind of, I remember I participated in a show one time where everything was the same size. It was 8 by 10. And it was all framed in the same frame.
The botanical organizations do that. They have real structure on how the works have to be framed.
I thought it was really boring. I almost couldn't see the art. It was just...
that you step back. I mean, I think that you do that with gallery walls sometimes, too, if it's all, if it's a grid. It's it almost becomes architectural.
It makes like a pattern in and of itself versus
which can be
highlighting
nice
any in particular work.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it works. Sometimes it's. I think a mix is more interesting personally.
Yeah. And people that don't have any artwork, like, do people ask you, where do I find it? How do I get going? Like,
I think that I always recommend the art associations, but I think that, I mean, I was on I think I told you about the panel I was on with Michael and Christina, trying to talk to people about collecting artwork. I think it's,
right.
I don't think there's any rules, but
No.
like there's ways to start, and I think one is just like start looking around, right? If there's art on the walls, just pay attention to it.
Yes. Even when you go to a friend's house or something, you're like, what is that? Or
and asking questions, I think, is another one to way to start to understand it.
Restaurants often will have good art.
Yeah, some.
Some. I remember. Is it Cheevers in Norwell?
Yeah, they have.
I've already got all excited because I'm like, oh my God, there's so many Anne Packards in here. Yeah. They're prints.
Yeah.
But they're still beautiful.
No, they are, and they actually, me and Michael hung a bunch of those.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Her
work is great, but
oh my gosh,
I don't think you'd want to have too many of originals of hers hanging.
Oh, I would.
Well, not in a restaurant.
In a restaurant, no, but in your own home, of course.
Oh,
I have a tiny one, a tiny landscape of hers.
Yeah.
I think that's, we'll see. My life's not over yet. Hopefully there's another Anne Packard in my future.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I think people, when they ask, about how to start, I mean, what would you advise somebody when they ask you? Just make that first purchase? Or?
Yes, I 100%. Like, if you respond to something, if there's some sort of pull, some sort of connection, or I'll just tell them about stories about people that come into my shop.
Yep.
I've had a long-time customer from the beginning. She buys a painting for every big sort of moment in her life. Someone in her family got married, someone passed away, someone graduated, from law school, or, I mean, it's really almost an excuse, but I thought this was so interesting. So she makes a purchase, and when she looks, now the painting doesn't have to relate to that person or the event, or can have it's just sort of to commemorate it,
the moment.
And so when she'll look at, say she bought a beautiful floral painting, I think it was the Peonies from of Margaret McWethy's, and she looks at that and thinks of her mother, because when her mother passed.
It's an interesting thing. I heard Kevin O'Leary talking about that, buying watches for the same thing.
Okay.
Like you close a business, but I mean you can treat paintings the same way.
Yeah.
Right?
So she looks around her house and she thinks, oh, that beautiful seascape reminds me of when my nephew got married.
Yeah.
And we went, wherever, and had a great experience, a great time at the wedding or whatever. And then a lot of people buy art when they travel, which is really kind of fun.
Yeah. Well, you spend more freely when you're on vacation.
You
right?
certainly do. Yes. You're like, why did I want that painting of the Chianti bottle? No. Anyway, hopefully you find something better in Italy. But or local scenes. It always sort of it surprised me when I first opened how much Hingham art, if you will, scenes of Hingham, people that live in Hingham put Hingham in their house.
Yep.
But I completely understand it. It's their home. It's their, where their family grew up, or where they have a strong emotional attachment to it, and then having art that reflects that sense of place is a natural thing to be attracted to and to gravitate to. Yeah. And then I sell a lot of Hingham scenes to people that move out of town, or friends that want to buy a group gift for someone that's moving, and they want to give them something of local and
to remember
that sort of thing, to remember their life there, that chapter in their life, or there's so many different handles you could.
Yeah, I think I try to buy a piece every year from a couple of the art festivals that that we support in North River. I get to hang that show every year, so I usually I try to find something that I resonate
it's
with.
It's a great place to find good art.
Yeah, and I think that those are having that. It just adds to the story, right? Which is, I think, at the end of the day, like the important part of it. It's like buy something that tells the story, or
Yeah, well, it's a big part of your life too.
Even if that story is just like, all right, that's the first piece I bought, or
right.
I bought that at this. I don't know. I think it's interesting. I had somebody who, and it's so funny too. Like the people that ask sometimes, it's like, I'm surprised by people being intimidated by art because they don't want to make the wrong purchase.
Yes.
But usually I recommend like go to these festivals and see a grouping of art, or come into here when we have like a show like this Hanover Days one, and see a wide variety of art,
right.
and then narrow it down, see what you like.
Right. See what speaks to you.
Yeah. Speaks to you. That's a good way to put it.
Or connects, what you connect with.
Yeah, then you can start to determine, hey, do I like pastels, or am I into photographs? Do I like stuff that's realistic, or is more abstract pieces connect with me?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's the fear of the unknown, like anything in life, like that they just feel like, oh, I don't know anything about art, ergo I shouldn't be able to purchase anything because I don't know anything about it, which is, it's a understandable fear, but I don't know anything about TVs, but I manage to buy one every 10 years or so.
I can't play music, but I like listening to it, right?
Right. Same thing, yeah.
And I can't cook, but I love eating, right?
For sure. Yeah, and we need people, artists need people to buy art so we can make more. So they're, in addition to having great things in their home, they're contributing to the art world by making their purchase.
Yeah, I think it's almost like people are afraid to break out, and that you're trying to conform maybe too much. But it's like that's how you become boring, right? Like you're just like just like everybody else. I have the same artwork from the Pottery Barn catalog. Oh, I have that same painting. It's like going into a hotel room, right?
Yes, yeah. That is kind of sad. Although what I do like about some of the catalogs, or sort of chain retailers, if you will, are looking to artists, to real artists, for lack of a better, reproduce, which I think is I like Mary McGuire, who's been doing these really fun watercolors, and has been selling out at antique festivals amongst other places, and does a lot of self-marketing on Instagram. Is now Serena and Lily picked up her work. I know a lot of people that had already purchased some of her work were like disappointed in that, but I don't know, that doesn't really bother me. I think it's great because her work is fantastic, so it should be out there in the world, and maybe someone that bought that Mary McGuire piece from Serena and Lily is going to fall in love with it and want to buy an original of hers, and is going to maybe start collecting art, which is the ultimate
there's a
outcome.
place for reproductions, absolutely, and sometimes it's the price point, but maybe that's a better way to start,
That's why I have giclée prints from several artists, myself included, that I sell in my shop. I don't buy giclée prints of other people. I just have, so I have Lauren Bass's, Christina Eckerson has a couple, I have a couple, and it's at the price point allows someone in, that, for a few $100s versus, $1,200 or $1,400 for an original. It's I'm going to toot the horn of Image Resolutions locally that they do a great job, and we frame them in our shop. We frame them the same as we would an original painting, and I tell people no one needs to know, or you can tell people, and there's no shame in a reproduction for certainly, especially if something really unique and something good. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Well, you can't always get them, so sometimes that's a good option. But I think that this has been a great conversation. Like I said, when I come and go into the store or when you're in here framing stuff, I'm always excited to talk art with you, Amber. I think this is maybe this is part one of hopefully more conversations to come, and when we figure out how to get people buying art or write the playbook to get people interested in becoming collectors, I'll have you back on.
Oh, thank you. I'm like always my favorite topic, but I'm honored to have been included in your series.
Well, yeah,
thanks for having me.
I appreciate all of your letting me into your world and help show it off to other people to hopefully inspire them and
share the passion.
Yes. Well, I very much appreciate you coming in, and people can check out your work on Instagram. It's just
yes, I do. It's at Waterhouse Decor.
Yep.
That's my moniker, and my name was taken, so I couldn't use it. And also at 108 North Street in Hingham Square.
Yeah. Come
on down and see it in person.
See it in person. It's not intimidating at all. It's worth it.
I hope not. No. I hope it's fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Amber.
Thanks, Dave.